Hi guys, it's Heather with the Plot Genie, and today we are going to talk about how to create a writing schedule that works best for you. I actually did a webinar on this in my Facebook group, and it was really well received, and I thought that I could condense it and create something very quick, very short, in hopes that it will reach a larger audience and hopefully be as helpful as the webinar. However, if you are interested in it, I have a form linked below that you can fill out and you can get a copy of for a pretty inexpensive price, like $19 or something like that. So why don't we just jump right in? It's January. We're trying to figure out our goals. We're trying to build these habits that will last us throughout the year and who knows, even further. So the first tip that I have for you, or I guess really a question that you need to ask for yourself, is how many days do you want to write per week? Not how many days do you think you should be writing in order to be successful, because everybody has a different definition of what success is, but how many days a week do you want to write, where you're going to be excited to write and it's not going to feel like this heavy burden or this heavy obligation. It's going to feel good. It's going to feel like creation, And how many days a week is going to be easy for you to fit in your schedule. Some of us are super busy. Some of us have more free time. So think about that. If you have a piece of paper or a journal or even a phone, you might want to just take some quick notes, just because I think that this is really beneficial and it's good food for thought. So yes, how many days do you want to write? Not, again, what do you want? Want is a lot different than what you should be doing or what you have to be doing. What do you want to do? This is your schedule. You get to create it. Just remember that. Number 2, how many words a day do you want to write? Now, this will tie into how much time do you actually have. So you could want to write 5,000 words a day, but if you only have 30 minutes on your lunch break at work, probably not going to happen. So pick a realistic number that works for you and the life that you are currently in. Not the life that you currently want for yourself, or not the life you currently had before you got a job, before you got a kid, before, your 5-year-old is now in elementary school or whatever. Look at where you are now and figure out, okay, here's the time that I have. Here's how many hours in a day I can write, or how many minutes in a day I can write. Based on this, I can probably hit X amount of words every day, or in the schedule that I am giving myself. The third thing I want you to ask yourself is, how can you make this happen, right? So let's say you want an extra hour, you have an hour of writing time, and you want to hit 2,000 words in that hour. How can you make that happen? Does that mean that you go to bed earlier? Does that mean you go to sleep? Does that mean you break the hour down into increments of free time that you have throughout the day? Is that 20 minutes while you are dropping off your kid from school, 30 minutes of soccer practice where you can fit in some time writing on your phone, and then maybe 10 minutes in the pickup line, though we all know that the pickup line is a lot more than 10 minutes. So I'm just throwing ideas out here. Is it, okay, can you ask your partner for this time? And it might be that based on how you answered the first thing about how many days can you actually write, maybe your partner can only watch the kids for an hour on Saturdays. So great, you have that hour covered. But you want to incorporate Tuesdays and Thursdays as well. So how can you do that? Find little ideas that work best for you and your family. But also make sure that it still feels good inside. If it feels overwhelming, or if you're just like your body's tight and you are looking for any procrastination habit to jump into so you don't have to write, take a step back and realize, okay, I'm in control of my schedule. I don't have to do anything I don't want to do. What feels good? What feels good for me? What feels good for my schedule? So prioritize that. Your feelings are valid and you need to work with them. So just keep that in mind. Brainstorm how you can make that hour or however long per day you've dedicated to that writing time happen. Number 4, be realistic. We've kind of touched on this already, but look at how your life is and be realistic with where you can actually give your writing time, make it a priority. Sometimes for people that's only on the weekends, and that's okay. Sometimes for other people, you want to focus on your kids on the weekends and you only have 2 hours per day while they're at school. Sometimes you are working full time and you want to prioritize your kids in the weekends, so you're just like, all I have is an hour and I'm waking myself up early in order to get that hour, and that is fine. You just have to do what you can do for yourself and for your family. Again, you want to make it so writing doesn't become this heavy, burdensome thing. This is where we get into burnout. This is where we give up our writing habits, our writing, we make excuses. You don't want to do that. You want to look for the joy. You want to look for the ease. Those are the 2 most important things when we're talking about writing. And I know if you guys have been watching this channel for a while, you hear me repeat it all the time, and it's because it's that important. So be realistic with yourself and just know that everyone is in a different place in their life. Everyone is on a different journey. Where you are right now is where you're meant to be. Don't take that for granted and don't give up. Just figure it out. It's okay if you're only hitting 500 words a day. You are still making progress. It's like that saying, a journey starts with a single step, something like that. Just it's a marathon, not a sprint. You can do this. And the last thing that I want you to keep in mind when it comes to your writing schedule is that things are going to change. It could mean that you got a promotion at your job, or that your kid randomly moved back into the house, or your husband, you have your husband home full time, whatever it is, things are going to change. Don't be afraid to pivot. This is not some excuse, or this is not the universe showing you a sign that you are not meant to be a writer, that writing is not a priority for you. This happens in business all the time. Things don't go according to plan. How often does it happen in our lives where things don't go according to plan? The car breaks down, you get a leak in your house, or something. We all have to figure out, okay, this happened. There's nothing I can do about it. What are my priorities? How can I still fit this part of me into this new circumstance or environment, or even this new but temporary one? So it's like I mentioned earlier, summer, your writing schedule in summer is going to be very different than your writing schedule in winter or fall or spring if you have children and they are in school. It's going to be very different if you have kids who are doing extracurricular activities. It's going to be very different if you have to take care of a loved one, if you work 12-hour shifts, if you have a chronic illness. It's going to be different from everyone, but we're still responsible for prioritizing our writing, and you can. When you make a writing schedule, you have to make it for yourself, not for your future self, not for your definition of success, not for your husband, partner, mom, dad, children, for you. And you are allowed to prioritize this if it's important to you. And it's very, very important to also be consistent with it. When you start looking into these questions that I've asked you, make sure this is something that you can be consistent. And when you pivot and you have to make a new one, because we've all been there, please make sure that it's also something that you can be consistent with as well. That is my biggest takeaway for having a successful, turning out as many words. It's just being consistent with yourself and being honest with yourself and letting the writing feel good. So just to recap really quick, ask yourself these questions when you are creating a writing schedule that works for you. How many days a week do you want to write? How many words do you want to write per day? And again, that's based on how many hours or how much time do you actually have to write? Number 3, how can you make that happen? Number 4, be realistic with your schedule. And number 5, understand that things are probably going to change, but that you are more than capable of handling it. So, if we're talking about writing schedules, as of right now, I write 4,500 words a day, Monday through Friday. And I don't do it all at one time. I fit it into increments of time that work around my kid's schedule, my husband's schedule, and any schedule that I might want. So if I want to just read for a little bit, I will try to earn my reading time by hitting my word count, whatever. That's my writing schedule, and it really works for me. For me, it's just because I'm not sitting at the computer and hunched over all the time. I'm writing, 500 words, and then I'm doing some yoga. And then I'm writing 500 words, and I'm watching Little Mermaid for the 1,000th time with my 3-year-old. Just that's how I like to work. And that's what works for me. And on the weekends, I kind of just like to refill my creative well. I like to focus on my kids because a lot of their hockey games are on the weekends. And I just like to have that free time to read, to watch TV, to kind of just sleep more, to be honest. But that's me, and I'd love to hear from you. So what is your current writing schedule like, and do you like it? Do you have any tips on how you are successful with your writing schedule? I'd love to hear them, so please leave them in the comments. If you haven't already, please subscribe. I post these videos every Tuesday and Thursday. I want to help other writers find joy and ease in their writing. That's kind of why I'm doing what I do. If you are interested in the webinar, check out the information below. Just fill out the form. It should be super easy. And thank you for being with me here today, and I will see you soon. Have a good one.